Hey guys, welcome back to Tony's podcast. And today is episode 76. And for January 14th, 2021, I'm excited to have Brian Noonan on the podcast. Hey Brian, how are you?
I'm doing very well, Tony. Thanks for inviting me on the show today. I'm happy to be here.
I'm glad you're here. It was my choice to really have interesting voices out there, and there's not a lot of people that can match your energy level.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I try to stay as energetic as I possibly can. Exercise helps, getting good night's rest and good sleep helps, working every day on your goals. All of those three things really help with energy.
Yeah. So listen, first, for people that don't know you, and I don't know your whole story, tell us a little bit more about you. You said that at one point you were a drug addict, and you've made a miraculous change in your life, and we'd really like to know more about that.
Yeah, thanks for the question. So about 6.5 years ago, I struggled with drug addiction. I was addicted to drugs and not really alcohol, but used alcohol as well. And really was just around the wrong people, doing the wrong things. I got clean and sober about 6.5 years ago and decided to start not only my Amazon journey, selling on Amazon, online, starting brands. I started a YouTube channel, a Facebook group. And I think one thing that's led to part of my success would be transitioning from being addicted to something negative to being addicted to something positive. Now, of course, there's certain limits and you have to try to, have some sort of balance, but
Hmm.
absolutely. I struggled with drug addiction for many, many years. And I think it was horrible. Don't get me wrong, but I think it has allowed me to get to where I am today.
That's wonderful. But I'm sure you didn't just wake up one day and decide to make that change. What do you remember? Was there a turning point for you that you can think back on?
Yeah, absolutely. I can remember the day. It was I had probably been struggling with addiction for at that point at least 4, 5, 6 years, and it was really an ultimatum by my mom who said, you either um, can go to a treatment center and get help, or you can, get out. I don't want you around here anymore.
Hmm.
And that was really the turning point. So the next morning, I was on a plane to Palm Springs and entered an in-treatment rehab center. And so I spent about 45 days there. When the money runs out, they kick you out for insurance reasons. But I will say that was my second rehab. And so sometimes it does take a couple times for those of you who are ready, if you are struggling or know someone. I think number one, it takes that you acknowledge you have a problem, or they acknowledge they have a problem and want to get help. And then I really, really think the treatment center did a very, very good job with me as far as turning my life around. So that was really those 45 days that got me to where I am today.
Wow, that's an amazing and inspirational story for sure. And how did you get sort of started on your entrepreneurial journey? Did you always find that you've had that in you from a young age, or you were kind of like forced into it?
Always since a young age, I kind of go back. I think of the inspirational stories like Gary Vee, talking about shoveling snow or singing Christmas carols to his neighbors, even though he's Jewish and I'm Jewish. And so I always was doing something entrepreneurial, whether it was mowing people's yard. I would hook up my riding lawnmower with my weed eater and push mower behind it and go up and down the street in my neighborhood. And I had 3 or 4 lawns I do every weekend as a 13, 14-year-old. And so I started early mowing lawns, shoveling snow, all of that. So it was really just kind of in me. But I didn't really get onto my true entrepreneurial journey until really returning back from the rehab center and coming across selling online, doing Amazon and e-commerce on YouTube. And that's kind of when I kind of went all in on it at that point.
Right, right. Do you feel that there is a danger in the sense that, for example, you've had tremendous success on Amazon, that there's a danger of going sort of all in on Amazon, that they could suspend your account at any time?
Yeah, when we talk about like, building an e-commerce business, obviously Amazon's got the most eyeballs on it, but it's also got the most sellers on it. And so I think Amazon, if you are brand new to e-commerce or brand new to starting a new business, of course Amazon is where you should try to, put at least 80% of your efforts of launching your first product on there. But absolutely, they have, new terms of service rules, black and white rules that cannot be broken, that they're implementing every day. So absolutely, there's risk. You have to follow terms of service. You have to be very careful with
Mhm.
following their guidelines.
Right. Now, as we approach, we're into 2021, we're halfway through even January. What are the number that we talked about earlier, which I want to talk about in the podcast, is what are your top tips for this year in terms of what are you seeing? What can small business owners do to get ahead?
Yeah, I think one of the main things I would say is really, focus and mastery all in one niche or category versus kind of overload, trying to do too many things at once.
Mhm.
I'd say most of my products that have done the best are in one or two categories. It's kind of like that 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
80% of your results will come for 20% of your efforts. And so if you can try to focus on launching products and building a brand in one niche or category on Amazon. And then of course you can build out onto your own Shopify store, and that reduces your risk, of course. So focus, get clear on where you want to build a brand, maybe what product you have experience with in the past that you have some advanced knowledge. Maybe you're a nurse or a teacher, and you have or a fitness coach, and you use different products every day. Having a little bit of a passion, a little bit of more insight knowledge on how the product's used and the target market. Building a brand in one category can be very, very powerful.
What are your other tips in terms of like building out that brand? Because isn't that the main advantage we have over um, Chinese sellers that would tend to sell direct and undercut the pricing?
Yeah, that's a great question. If you can just go onto Amazon and just notice that there's a lot of new sellers coming in. And if you take a look at the brand name or the buy box, you can usually tell that they're located overseas. And so I think it's really important. It starts with product research. What product are you going to decide to sell? Checking out who's selling the product and how you can come in and make the product better, but not just make it better. Kind of have a long-term vision on where you plan to take your brand, and building out an email list, building out a social media following, like a Facebook, Instagram page for sure, to help you really connect with your customers instead of just trying to sell.
Hmm. In terms of what kind of sort of knowledge you've done, have you taken any courses or have you read any books in terms of that really have influenced your journey?
Yeah, I'll start with the books part. I'd say some of my top three books that I would recommend for entrepreneurship. The number one and number two are kind of the same. They're from Grant Cardone, the 10X Rule and Be Obsessed or Be Average. Those are two of my favorite books. And then the next one is by Peter Voogd, 6 Months to Six Figures, is like my second most favorite book. And then I really enjoyed The School of Greatness by Lewis Howes, who also has a podcast like you. And so those are my top book choices. As far as courses, I've taken several Amazon courses, but how I learn the best is either doing it myself from experience, or connecting with people who've got and achieved what I want, and then either hiring them as my mentor or learning from them, reverse engineering. What did they do to get where they are? And then I go back and look at their path.
That's wonderful. Like, who are some of these like mentors in at least maybe in the Amazon or online area that you consider a mentor?
In the Amazon space specifically, I definitely like Seth from Project One Dime.
Yeah.
I think what he's built is from Just One Dime. I think what he's built as far as his YouTube channel, his online, course and coaching program is very admirable. So I like that. I'm not a huge fan of the Amazon automation part, but that's for another podcast. So definitely him. There's certain things I can learn from all the people. Trevin Peterson, Matt Loberstein, Kevin David, even there's different, all of them have different nuances about how they built their business. So I can really learn from all of them.
Hmm. Did you end up watching the Helium 10 episode they did called Project X?
I did. I not only watched most of that episode, I've also used their, their training, the Freedom Ticket that comes along with their membership.
Yeah,
It's from Kevin King.
yeah, that's right. So what's your opinion on the Freedom Ticket?
The Freedom Ticket is a great training course that's free. It's $1,000 course that you can get for free just by joining Helium 10 and getting their platinum plan for 1 month. You'll get access to that. It's a great training. Kevin King does a very thorough job. It has like 90% of what you'll need to start selling on Amazon and start building out your business. But I thought it was very good. And then with Project X, there's certain things in there that I really liked, and then other things I think like aren't necessarily needed, like always doing a test launch where you just buy 10 or 15 units and set up a test campaign. You don't always have to do that.
Of course, of course. Is there any other tricks or secrets or whatever hacks that you want to call? Like, do you personally find that help you use Helium 10 in terms of your product research?
Yeah. When I do product research on Helium 10 and I want to share with the audience, one thing you have to take into account when you're doing product research in Helium 10, you have to realize that there's thousands and thousands of other people, potential other sellers or other sellers that are seeing those same products too. And so typically I'll like to start with like Helium 10 product research tool, black box, or keywords tab, or products tab as a starting point, just to kind of get ideas. And then I'll kind of use the storefront method or rabbit hole method to find other related products versus, a lot of people are seeing the products that come up when you're using Helium 10.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, I always tell people you have to really start at identifying your market rather than identifying the product. That's the whole key, because then you have the avatar in place to sort of build out the brand. You know what I mean? Versus just trying to sell really a bunch of unrelated products, which don't have any sort of cohesion.
Yeah, and that's exactly kind of what you did to get to where you're at today, right? Is you are in the kind of upscale furnishing, home bedroom
That's right.
furnishing.
Yeah, yeah. In terms of my case, me and my brother, we had a retail chain with about 10 stores about 15 years ago. And we had to make that switch, you know what I mean? And which is great to the online direct-to-consumer model, because it really saddens me to see great names like Pure One and others just falling by the wayside because they couldn't change their business model, And I think the great thing is, what I really like about you as well is, I think businesses that survive are the ones that have the ability to change.
So important to change and to adapt. And it's just sped up like 20 years. We've just seen 1 year go by, but really 10 to 20 years as far as evolution of the retail online space.
No, of course. And what are your takeaways for, like, I was going to ask you, like, you've seen now COVID's been around for a year. What are your takeaways? Because I'm seeing a lot of people complaining, well, we can make sales, but we might not make a lot of profit with all the extra costs that are coming forward and so forth.
I think one of my main takeaways is just how important not only having an online store, but just getting started. Like it's great if you started 2 years ago. It's great if you started a year ago, but the best time to start is now. And so if you haven't got started, just get started, because the demand for most products has never been higher. But you also don't want to skip over some really important steps when you're doing product research and deciding what products to sell, like profit margin calculations. Most sellers, maybe miss something, and after they pay the fees and the packaging and the shipping costs and the fulfillment fees, referral fees, advertising fees, you're like breaking even or like 10 or 20% profit. And so knowing how to do profit calculations, use that Excel sheet inside Freedom Ticket for evaluation, cash flow is super helpful.
No, that's great. what are your tricks in terms of getting high profit margin items? Like if something is suppose costing product X is costing $10, how is somebody supposed to get 70 or $80 for it if it's I'm assuming a generic Alibaba type of item?
Yeah, a lot of people, it's not, I don't even sell products now that are not less, that sell less than $50 on Amazon. So I look for products that are in that, $75 to $150 range. And what usually happens is, 95% of sellers just can't afford to go into a product that costs $10 to $30 to source. They just can't afford to buy 200 at $20 or 500 at $20 an item from Alibaba. And you'll really be in bad shape most of the time if you try to just sell a generic product off Alibaba. We've got to put the brand name on the product and the packaging, and at least do one or two additional things to add value and stand out in the market, other than just nice packaging, other than just a little bit lower price or a different color.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great. You know what? I also really like you had mentioned recently, because I don't like to, stereotype any particular region or first area, but I've never had good experiences for some reason hiring from certain places, and I have better experiences in other countries, and it's hard to explain that.
It is. I think you're speaking to like hiring VAs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had some bad experiences too with certain countries. I don't know what it is. As the owner of a Facebook group that has a little under 2,000 members, I can see who's applying to get into that group, and I will tell you that 80% of the new people that are applying every day all seem to be from Pakistan.
Yeah.
And so I think what's happening there is they're seeing an opportunity to kind of take advantage of people that are new or newbies. And maybe they can pretend like they have more knowledge than they really have. I've always had the best experience with my VAs getting them from onlinejobs.ph. I have one that I've worked with that's done very well for me. He's in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
And then one woman who's in India. So I'm not opposed to hiring in any certain country, but I will say that I see who's been kind of infiltrating these Facebook groups. And as far as mine, and I know a lot of others, Amazon sellers in the online forums and groups, notice there's a ton flooding in from Pakistan for some reason.
Yeah, well, you know what? This whole episode is about guerrilla marketing, and I do appreciate the fact that I think I saw a funny comment one time. Somebody asked, "Is Brian a bot?" Because I think you've done a great job really getting your name out there on Facebook. You know what I mean? And that's the essence of guerrilla marketing, of just using your time and not always spending a lot of money to kind of go viral or to get noticed.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. I do. I feel like, providing free value or getting in there and helping as much as you can not only makes you feel good helping another person and can get you motivated for the day. It can be very rewarding after you've, earned a certain amount of money. Helping people, making connections, meeting people
Mm-hmm.
is very valuable too.
No, I totally agree. And finally, tell us what motivates you to every day in terms of business and entrepreneurship.
I have a long-term mindset. I realize, a lot of people are short-term focused. What can I make in the next day, or what can I make in the next 30 days as far as revenue and profit? I think one thing that's led to my success as far as my YouTube channel, growing my Amazon brands, is I take like a 1 to 5 year look at things. I'm looking so far out because I know it's going to take a lot of time. As far as what motivates me, just really providing value and helping people, and knowing that it's going to be, maybe a year to 5 years before I see the payoff.
That's great, because you know what it is. People sometimes have unrealistic expectations of how soon success is, right?
Yeah, and it's not their fault. It's not their fault either, too. I mean, a lot of these marketers, online are marketing to them about 30 days or less, quit your job. So it's not their fault.
Have you started the process of diversifying off of Amazon in terms of opening Shopify or other means to generate revenue?
Yep, definitely. I'm doing Shopify. I've got one of my trademark brands is on Shopify, so I'm selling there. And I recently got approved and applied and getting things going as far as Walmart. So I'm starting on Walmart. So I'm excited to see how that works. We'll have to do another episode and go over that.
Yeah, that'd be great. In fact, this year I just started selling on Walmart myself, and it's an interesting experience indeed because, we just don't know who's gonna have win the race, but we want to make sure we place our bets everywhere.
Right, right. I mean, you can't go wrong with Walmart and Amazon. It's a whole new ball game as far as selling on Walmart. The algorithm's different. The PPC is different. The ranking is a little different.
It totally is, and yesterday I bought a purchase off of Costco. I think the margins support it. People forget there's so many other platforms from Costco. There's Wayfair. There's endless possibilities.
Oh yeah, that's those are great other platforms too.
Yeah. Well, listen, I want to thank Brian for coming out here, just giving us some great information, because I know people don't have an hour to listen to, a long-winded thing. They want real solutions to help them out. And I think you really provided that. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me. I hope we can meet again.
Sounds good.